Final round.
Power.
Nice shot.
KO.
Welcome to Gaymer Girls. Hello and welcome to Gaymer Girls, the gaming podcast full of nerd news and lore lectures for the girls and the gamers. I'm your host, Van.
I'm Sana.
And today, Sana, I'm really excited because we've been talking a lot about World War III. Okay, let's be real. Let's be connected. Let's be relevant.
There's been some recent conversation with what's going on in the world.
And I think we can use this as a way to move into a little bit of escapism. I really enjoy Fallout lore. We know the Fallout series, right?
Yes,
you know of it, but
of
you
course.
have not played it, correct?
I have not.
Okay, so have you seen the Fallout TV series?
I have not.
Okay, so this is really exciting for me.
Yes.
I think this is such a fun world and, fun is perhaps the wrong word for it. But it's a world that has a lot of lore to it and a lot of world building that I really, really enjoy. So I thought it would be a fun episode idea to introduce some of the lore to you and pique interest and tell you a little bit about the world that's built here by going through what we call vaults and their lore within Fallout. But we'll get to that in a bit, okay?
Okay.
So Fallout, just as a little bit of background, it is a game where you explore the post-apocalyptic world. So it started in 1997. The original game was released by Black Isle Studio, which is a subsection of Interplay Entertainment. The original title is Fallout, a post-nuclear role-playing game, and its creator is Tim Kaine. Tim Kaine, he's really big in the industry, and he's currently working on The Outer Worlds and The Outer Worlds 2 as a director and creative consultant, respectively. But he was the brains and the creative passion and direction behind the original Fallout. So there are actually a lot of games in this franchise and this series. It starts with Fallout in 1997, goes into Fallout 2. That was 1998. Both of these are PC only. We hit Fallout 3 in 2008. Now, Bethesda actually developed this one. Okay. And Bethesda is pretty much behind the rest of the Fallout games.
Yes.
This is for PC, PlayStation, and Xbox. You can play Fallout on anything. And after Fallout 3, we have Fallout New Vegas in 2010, and it was developed by Obsidian Entertainment, but still published by Bethesda. Fallout 4, 2015, and it's another Bethesda production. This one is the one to start with, and the one that we're going to be discussing most today. So after Fallout 4, we get Fallout 76, released in 2018. That one is an online multiplayer version of the game.
I do remember when Fallout 76 came out. It was quite the controversy.
I think it's gotten better, but when it first came out, the game was nigh unbearable. Supposedly, there is a Fallout 5 that will go into production, but only after The Elder Scrolls 6 comes out. So that's not out yet.
And who knows when that's going to release.
So basically, we're all waiting for Fallout 5, but Fallout 4 is the game that I think most of the TV show draws from, but it's also, most of the fan base would agree, is a great place to start for the game. So there's also a bunch of spin-off games, like the Brotherhood of Steels from 2001 and 2004. So the Brotherhood of Steel are a very popular faction within the game. Within every game, there are these sort of groups and these militias that pop up, and they try and recruit you, and you can either join them in the game or you can pass and move with another group. And there's a lot of different options. But the Brotherhood of Steel, their primary purpose is to collect pre-war, the war that causes the nuclear fallout. We will get into that. Collect pre-war, I guess, technology and then use it for their own purposes.
I see.
And they're really popular, so they got their own spin-off games. Then there's a few more: Fallout Shelter, Fallout Pinball, and then Fallout Shelter Online. And there's some tabletop games as well. So the Fallout, series and the franchise is very big and it's very widespread. So it's got very much a larger history, and that was kind of intimidating to take a look at that. And then after I watched the show, I was very, very into the whole idea of it all, and I wanted to get into it, but without some direction of like start on Fallout 4, I would be so lost as to where to start, because it feels like, oh, there is a chronology to this. There is a full timeline of Fallout, like history.
It's hard
and
to
lore.
know where to start when there's already a history.
Yes, it's exactly
series,
like the Marvel movies and things. I would have no idea where to start. So, to get into the general story of what Fallout is, it depicts basically an idealistic, like American 50s aesthetic with nuclear war. In 2077, bombs drop on the US and everyone is forced into shelters. So before this, we have a lot of tensions across the world. It's very reminiscent of like sort of Cold War tensions. You and your family, very conveniently in Fallout 4, are approached right as you start the game by a Vault-tec salesman. Vault-tec is a company that is creating these vaults for people to survive in post like the nuclear bombs dropping. So you're like, oh, interesting timing, and then the bombs drop. So you very luckily, you and your family get whisked off and you got to run over to a shelter. You get inside. You get to choose if you want to play a man or a woman. You can choose, and you have your small infant child with you. Now, as you enter the vault, you realize perhaps this is not exactly what you signed up for, and you get cryogenically frozen for 210 years.
That's a lot of time.
Yeah, it is, and that's right as soon as you start the game.
Gotcha.
You wake up a few times during the sleep, and ultimately your infant child gets kidnapped. So you wake up in 2287 in Vault 111, and you are set on a path to go and find your son. That is the basis of Fallout 4.
Okay.
You are looking for your child after you woke up and...
And was the infant also cryogenically frozen?
Yep.
Okay,
Yes.
gotcha.
So the infant, I played as the man, so my wife got frozen with the infant, and basically she dies. Everyone dies. You're known as the lone survivor of Vault 11.
Gotcha.
And you're looking for your son.
I see.
That is the basis of that is the basis of Fallout 4.
Okay.
So a little bit of this video will contain some spoilers for some of the vaults. I'm going to try and stay away from explaining the vaults that appear within the show, because I want you guys to watch the show. It's a really good show. It's very fun. Obviously, there's issues and flaws with it, and I don't agree with all like the character choices and things. But it's a really, really well done show. It can give you a taste into what it would be to play the games, and then you can get involved in the games. Do you do that at all? Do you like watch because right now we're in kind of a boom of shows that are based off video games.
Not really. Like, I recently watched the Sonic movies for the first time, but I'm not going to go play Sonic. It's just like, usually the movie adaptations or the TV show adaptations for the games that I have seen, usually I either prefer the game version of the two, or it's like I don't like the genre of game that this is in, so I'll opt to watch, like I don't like platformers, so I don't play Sonic, but the Sonic movies were pretty fun.
That's true. I saw the Sonic that they had to fix.
Yes.
Yeah. So that was a while ago. Is there a new Sonic out?
There's been a whole trilogy of films, including a spin-off for just Knuckles.
Yes, I do know about the Knuckles spin-off. Okay.
Yes.
Interesting. I can't say I'm going to be watching those movies, but so I won't try and like spoil too much of the show, because that's how I get into a lot of things. I think I saw Arcane, and now I'm like marginally more interested in League of Legends.
Don't do it.
I know, and I'm realistically not going to. I know too many people who have poured far too much time into that game.
I've poured too many hours into League of Legends, more than I would like to admit.
What's your hour count?
I don't know. I haven't looked for that reason.
And you know what? You don't need to.
Exactly.
So Vault-tec is one of several companies that purchased a bunch of vaults. So they were basically the creators of these vaults, and they offered them up to the highest bidder. Instead of becoming actual bunkers, a lot of these highest bidders would set up extreme social experiments within the vault.
So it's like Love is Blind.
Absolutely not.
But they're like Love is Blind, social experiment in pods.
Okay, yeah.
Fallout 4, social experiment in bunkers.
Yeah,
Both
okay.
owned by rich people. Presumably.
True, and often used for the amusement of others.
Yes.
Okay, so
we have a connection.
So Fallout 4 is basically Love is Blind.
Yes, that's
Okay.
that's what I'm saying.
So pretty much every single vault has something that is like a terrible, horrible human experiment going on inside. So that is what we're going to be breaking down in this video, because I have a bunch of them that I want to get your opinion on. I want you to tell me what you think would happen in them.
Okay.
And they're, I think, an interesting, like that. The aspect of the vaults within the television show really sold it for me because, and then when I went and looking online, I went on YouTube, and some of these people have so incredibly well done in-depth research into all the vaults and what they do. There's over 100 vaults. So, and every single one of them has a purpose and a type of experiment, or some aren't very much an experiment. One just like holds all of the United States gold. That's it. But it was, gets raided and, taken over and all that. So there's a lot to every single one of these, and I find the world building to be truly impressive. So in this game, in Fallout 4, you get to go and explore around the vaults and the outer world. You fight against radiation-diseased people and creatures and monsters, and you get to explore. It's a very fun, it's kind of like survival Minecraft. Not really survival Minecraft. It's about, you can build up a town. It's almost survival Sims, because you can align with different factions. You go on different side quests. The fighting, it's all a first-person shooter. Okay. So it took a little getting used to for me, because I'm not necessarily the biggest first-person shooter in the world, but I play on easy, and you can have some fun with that. It's no shame to play on easy, okay? Just to jump into the show a little bit, which is how I first really got into Fallout. Like, I knew it was a game, and I had seen the little guy with his thumb up, but it is a story about a woman from Vault 33 and her progression through exploring the world and getting out of her vault and following the storyline of the show. So that woman is actually Ella Purnell, who she's in Yellow Jackets. She's really got a moment.
She was Jinx in Arcane.
She's Jinx in Arcane, exactly. And in this show, she plays Lucy McLean. So she is the daughter of Hank McLean, and she is a Vault 33 dweller. We have Aaron Moten as Maximus. He's a squire of the Brotherhood of Steel. That's one of the factions that I mentioned. And he's later an ally to Lucy and the cause. For Hank McLean, Lucy's dad, we have Kyle McLaughlin. He is a Vault 33 resident, the overseer of Vault 33. Every single vault is built up in a way where they have a hierarchical system, and that person at the top, it's one person, is an overseer. Okay. So they pretty much explain and dictate how everything runs in there.
So like the prison warden.
Exactly. You're starting to get it. We have Moises Arias as Norm McLean. He's Lucy's younger brother. And Zelia Mendez-Jones as Dane, who is a non-binary scribe of the Brotherhood of Steel. So in the show, it's very, very, not necessarily explicit, but like they refuse to use pronouns for this person. Yeah. Who is built different from everybody else, because the Brotherhood of Steel is technically a brotherhood, and so this person is very slight, and you can tell that there's some gender, effery going on here, and I very much appreciated that. And then we have my favorite character in the show, and I think it's just because I like hot old men, but Walton Goggins plays the Ghoul.
That's the one with the no nose.
Yes, that's the one with the no nose that everybody is hot for.
Okay, I wasn't going to say that. I was going to say the one that I've seen pictures of online. Yes. I didn't realize that there was a large fandom around.
There's a very large fandom. Hop on Tumblr, look up some keywords, and you're going to find some very interesting things about the Ghoul. He actually has sort of two identities in the show. There is a the bombs dropping and a post the bombs dropping timeline going on. So he's the Ghoul in the post-apocalyptic timeline, and then in the pre-timeline he is Cooper Howard. He's a Hollywood star. He's sort of like John Wayne, like a big old country star. So he is also the ambassador for Vault-tec, because his wife is a Vault-tec executive, and he is the one who coined the thumbs up as the Vault Boy. So in the show, we also see some of the iconic themes within the game and tools and items.
Okay.
Something that you'll find in most of these games. In fact, going back to the very original is a portable computer on your arm called the Pip-Boy. So the Pip-Boy is kind of like this big wrist, I guess, what would you call it? That
Like a gauntlet?
a bracer.
Okay.
Like a big wrist bracer, and it has a screen on it, and then in every single game, this is how you access like your inventory, your stat points, like it's your navigation, your map, your quests, and everything. It's all in this thing called the Pip-Boy. So we see that in the show, and that's very exciting come to life.
I imagine they're using pop caps as currency as well.
Yes, they do, exactly. And you can collect things as you go around, and we have like the Nuka-Colas are a very big aspect of it. It's sort of like, again, a callback to that 1950s aesthetic with like the Coca-Colas. So that's very fun. And the first few games, they're actually turn-based combat games, and they're a little bit more simplistic. They are still a little bit like open world-ish, but then when we get to like Fallout 3, 4, and then like 76, that's like the open world where you can really go around, look for everything, talk with almost every NPC. So there's like a lot of little fun connector things throughout the games, and like the Pip-Boy is there with all of them, the vaults are there, the Nuka-Colas. We have a lot of very thematic imagery that makes it through all of the IP. I wanted to talk a little bit more about what you can find inside the vaults, and I just think lore and story building is it's so my cup of tea when it comes to games. I'm talking to every NPC, I'm reading every single bit of dialogue, and in these games you have computer consoles in the vaults. You can like scroll through people's emails and read about all of the drama that's going on. And that is where you find most of this lore. So let me just start by explaining a little bit about the Fallout 4 game vault that we start in, Vault 111. So this one is found in Sanctuary Hills, and it's known as the Commonwealth area. That is where you can make your first base in Fallout 4. And again, you can pretty much customize these bases. You also get companions, and you can send them to bases and all that. So this was a medical experiment for studying long-term effects of cryogenic stasis. You basically wake up, the vault has been abandoned. You are the only vault dweller who's left alive, and your son named Sean, he has been taken, and you are going to look for him.
Gotcha.
So that's like an idea of what one of the experiments was, cryogenesis, which I think is pretty tame for
it's just like, let's use these people are in the vault anyways, let's just use them for our academic experiments.
Exactly. Well, speaking of academic experiments, in Fallout 4 again, we have Vault 81, a research facility. So scientists would work to develop a disease to cure pretty much everything.
Okay.
But how do you think they did that, perhaps?
I mean, you would have to use a bunch of people to test the different...
and give them disease.
Give them every single disease.
Or take in other people who have disease and use them to basically... use your entire population, that's up to 1,000 people, as test subjects. And you find actually in the game that one singular person was successful in creating that all cure. There's one vial left of it, and you can use it to save a kid or save yourself. And it leads to an interesting moral decision. But there's a few of the vaults that are really focused around like scientific experimentation too.
I see.
One of the vaults in the show is also based on scientific experimentation, and it's really fun to see how because they show a wide variety of what the radiation can do to people. And it's really cool, the prosthetics or the CGI or whatever they're using to make these people look incredibly different and give them not funny facial features, but really messed up ones.
Like radiation
basically
poithink type of
well, not just that, but like I'll say one word and I'll say Cyclops, and I'll leave it at that.
I've seen the 100. I know what goes on.
Oh my gosh, the 100, that was a while ago. Oh my god, throwback. Yeah. In an additional piece of supplemental content, there is a Fallout Bible that goes into a little bit more of all of the vaults that we don't hear of in the main games. So They have some that are pretty tame. Vault 27 was overcrowded, so they stuck 2,000 people in there instead of 1,000 to see what would happen.
Oh, that was the experiment, was to see.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Yes. In Vault 53, it was perfectly fine and functioning, but every few months, a major piece of equipment would fail. So it's just to keep people on their toes in a heightened sense of complete stress at all times.
That's terrible.
Yes. So that, honestly, I would say is less severe than some of the other ones. This one from the Fallout Bible, and also referenced in a separate webcomic that we'll talk about called One Man and a Crate of Puppets. These are Vaults 68 and 69. Vault 68, out of the 1,000 people that entered, there was only one woman and the rest were men. Vault 69, out of the 1,000 people who entered, there was only one man and 999 women. They don't go into what happened.
Probably for the best.
Yeah, I would have to say, I think conjecture would be obviously 1 man, 1,000 women, repopulation. Obviously in both ends there's going to be...
But in both ends you're going to have a certain level of inbreeding.
Yes.
Because of the lack of genetic variance at a certain point.
Yeah. I'm thinking if I was the one woman, I am getting myself out of there via the door or heaven itself ASAP. That's what I'm talking about when I say there's some extreme and interesting social experiments going on. So this one I thought would be kind of interesting because I think we're seeing a little bit of this play out again in our modern society.
Okay.
This is Vault 118. It is on the island, Cliff's Edge Hotel. This is in Fallout 4, Far Harbor, which is an expansion. And this is a social experiment in which 10 wealthy residents would live in a very luxurious condition, and then there would be 300 poor residents that lived in terrible conditions, with wealthy residents granted total authority.
So they just went from having one overseer to having like
10 overseers, complete control. Well, and also the overseers in most vaults, I wouldn't say are living in luxury. They are certainly living with like more space and more power, and they have probably, better equipment. But they're generally, I would say, living on the same level. This is like extreme wealth and extreme poverty.
I see.
And I guess, we're going to see, they wanted to see what would play out, which I think the poor folks would outnumber and go crazy against the rich folks.
It feels like a bad MTV show.
Yeah, that I would watch that.
I'm just thinking about like MTV reality shows from like the 2000s, and I'm like, yeah, MTV would make a thing where it's like social experiment, rich families against poor families.
They would. Or I can think of several YouTube channels as well that would probably put on that same social experiment.
Probably.
So the lower class part was actually never finished, and basically all 10 of like the rich like luxury section inhabitants put their brains inside robot bodies, and they still live there.
Okay.
So that they have achieved immortal life. So this is one of my favorites, and I think one that I'll kind of end on in terms of our teaser here. This comes from a webcomic that was written by Jerry Holkins and illustrated by Mike Krahulik in 2008. And it involves an unnamed Vault-tec dweller who lives in Vault 77.
Okay.
And
they really love their repeating numbers.
They do.
As their main vault in the...
Yeah. I think it's just for the iconic imagery.
Understandable. Yeah.
Well, the one that Lucy lives in the TV show, that's Vault 33.
Yeah.
So, we do get a lot of that in Vault 13, and you get like 68 and 69, which I don't know if that was intentional, but I'm going to choose to say it was. So the webcomic is called One Man and a Crate of Puppets. And this was a social experiment in which one single person inhabited an entire vault and was alone with a crate of puppets.
That sounds terrible.
So he went insane eventually and sort of developed different personas, and because there's like the vault dweller puppet who became a rabid like murderer, but obviously it was the guy. But then there was a king puppet, and he split off into the personalities. There's a grandmother puppet that was like his friend. But he did become an insane person and eventually escaped and is just out and about in the world now.
Okay.
Yes.
A little terrifying.
A little terrifying. So, does any of this intrigue you? Do you like the lore? Are we interested in immersing ourselves into a post-apocalyptic game?
I'll probably watch the TV show at some point.
Okay,
yeah.
cool. I think the TV show is really, really well done. The production value is wonderful. I really think they did the technology of it justice. They did the world of it justice. It looks like a post-apocalyptic world. It's believable. Ella Purnell gives a fantastic performance.
Oh yeah, no, she is a 10 out of 10 actress, 100%. And everything that I have seen from the show, especially reviews from like yourself and other friends that I have who are fans of the Fallout games, have all been glowing.
Yeah. So I would have to jump on board with that. I am interested in seeing what they're going to do for the next season because they're actually going to Fallout New Vegas. Okay. There's like a final scene that really just sort of like teases that that's the next place. So we'll see how close they can get to the game, which would be very interesting. There's a lot of little bits of lore and little sort of teasers, I guess, and points, or what do they call them? Little Easter eggs. Yes, towards the actual game. So I'm very excited to see what they will put in for season 2. But 100%. Yeah, thanks for hanging out and listening to me just yap about Fallout lore. Yeah. What vault? Oh, if you had to live in any vault and you know all the vaults, which one would you live in for sure? I'd be a woman in the 999 women vault and one man vault.
Yeah, that's actually probably not the worst one.
No, and I think I would just live out my life and not, like, I would not want to.
I mean, there has to be another queer person in that vault at a certain point.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah. Statistically, I could live a very happy.
Or forget that one man.
Yeah, I think if I was a man, I would not want to be a man in the 999 men vault because I think there would be a lot of fighting, a lot of fighting. There's really not too many. I would be a researcher in one of the research vaults. But then oftentimes... I feel like
there's the ethical question there. Like, as an academic and as a researcher, how do you feel about forcing these people into these experiments?
Yeah, there is that. But then I'm like, do I need my morals in a post-apocalyptic environment? Some would say yes. I would say yes. Okay, some would say yes. And I should also say yes. But and also a lot of the researchers in these vaults where they have done experiments, like there's this one to create like the perfect soldier. The perfect soldiers rebelled and killed all the researchers. So it's really like a trade-off. Do I want a potentially terrible life? Do I want to ruin other people's lives and have them potentially ruin mine? Ideally, I'd be one of the, topmost people who bought a bunker for myself and then I can just hunker down and hang out. But that doesn't necessarily exist because all of these vaults are terrible and horrible and bad. So thank you for listening. Yes. Tell me which vault you would live in if you had to live in any of the vaults.
Or if you have a favorite vault that...
Yes, favorite experiment that's going on. Have you watched the show? Please watch the show. That's my whole point of having this little episode. So thank you again, Sana, for sitting down with me.
Thank you for having me. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.